Let you.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Premier Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Emilio in Tennessee. Here to talk some Green Bay Packers on this glorious May the 7th. I got in here a few minutes early, looked in the chat, and Jerry said, they going live tomorrow? So this knucklehead had the wrong day in. Surprise, right? That's a big shocker. But
so it wasn't there. I went to log in earlier and it wasn't there. I was like, okay, maybe I didn't refresh the computer. I gave it 5 minutes and there it popped up. So good deal.
Yeah, no, I screwed it up as always, man. I never know what day of the week it is. Like Jacob, man, when you put in all those hours at the office, Jacob, you don't know what day it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just know because of the different breakfast and lunch specials. I kind of got to memorize. Hey, guys in the chat, do I look dark on screen?
Jacob, that's very insensitive to say.
Yeah, come on, Jacob.
Emilio's giving me guff. He's saying I don't look good.
No, it's probably just because the sun's still up over there, right?
That's true. Yeah,
that could be it.
Angles.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right.
I see the work boot conversation going on in the chat.
I poured up already. Yep, just looking for a new pair. Just want to get input. That's all.
Yep. Tell you want to know what boots I use, Emilio?
You don't. That's exactly what I do.
Walmart Brahma. Now let me give you the slogan that we've created for Brahma boots. They cost about $30 a pair. They'll last you 1 year.
Yeah, those things work.
Hey, this is what I always say. I say
it's a 1 year rental.
I say Brahma when you need boots. That's all I say.
No way.
They'll get you through, man. I'm telling you. And I wonder why I've got back problems, right?
Seriously.
That's Clayton out there mowing grass barefooted. That's
just
right.
about. I've been yelling at him. Dude wears open-toed Crocs out there when he's mowing. He's weedy and like unbelievable.
Flip-flops, the whole nine yards. Anyway, hopefully everybody had an awesome day, man. Let's get into some topics here. We got a good little show lined up. This first topic I thought was really interesting. Anybody who watches Wildy and Tausch, Wildy kind of dropped a little nugget on the show today, and it really took me off guard. We could play the sound bite, but it's almost 4 minutes long. So I'm going to just kind of read this article we put together, kind of referencing what Jason Wildy was talking about. And I wanted to play it we might play like a small section of it just to get Mark Tauscher's response to it. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's kick it off with that instead. All right. So let me pull a screen grab up here. I'm used to Tim carrying this show. I can't. Oh, all right. Look at Emilio. Good stuff, man. I'm assuming that was Emilio.
Yeah, for sure.
This was on Wildy and Tausch earlier today. I'm going to play just probably the first minute. I want you to hear what Jason Wildy said. Then we'll dive into the article because this kind of caught me off guard. I want to see if it caught you guys off guard. Here we go.
There are some rumblings that maybe he has not been at the offseason program. Now,
it's Elgton Jenkins, by the way.
I don't know that for certain. He was not
juicy.
He was not in the pictures that were posted, right?
Juicy.
We did not get a chance to ask Matt LaFleur. So I want to be very clear. I don't know about his attendance. Okay,
but it's juicy. You'd admit it's juicy.
If accurate, then it is definitely very juicy.
Okay,
but he's got 2 years left on his deal. They just paid Aaron Banks a crap ton of money. He plays for a team that he knows they don't like to give out third contracts. He's got 2 years left on his second contract.
Oh, listen to these breadcrumbs. I'm at the pasture and there's breadcrumbs all on the floor. And they're leading to some real juicy.
All right, so I'll just leave it at that. That was on the Wildy and Tausch page over there on X. So make sure you guys go check that out and listen to the whole 3-minute clip. I heard that and I was like, what the hell's going on out here? Right? It kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And again, I want to put emphasis on what Wildy put emphasis on, that he doesn't know for sure. All he knows for sure is that no one has confirmed that Elgton Jenkins was at the offseason program. All right. So we put a little article together here. and I'll try to get through it kind of quick. Elgton Jenkins' absence from Packers' offseason program raises questions about the contract future. Green Bay Packers two-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins has been a cornerstone for the team's offensive line since being drafted in the second round of 2019. However, recent reports from ESPN Wisconsin's Jason Wilde suggest that Jenkins may not have attended, and I want to emphasize may not have attended, okay, any of the Packers' voluntary offseason program activities, sparking speculation about his future with the team, coupled with his reported transition from left guard to center for the 2025 season. All right. Went on to say on April 28th, Matt Schneidman of The Athletic reported that Jenkins was not spotted in team photographer Evan Siegel's 154-picture gallery from the first day of the Packers' voluntary workouts. Other notable players, including Jair Alexander, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, and Matt Orzing, were also absent from the gallery. But Jenkins' absence drew particular attention due to his leadership role in recent positional shift. Wilde, on his May 7th, 2025 episode of Wilde and Tausch, emphasized that he has, quote, no proof Jenkins attended any offseason activities, stating, quote, I do think this is something that we need to monitor. While voluntary workouts are not mandatory, the absence of a player of Jenkins' caliber raises eyebrows, especially given the timing and his contract situation. So obviously they're looking to move him to center. Let me get your all's initial thoughts on it. Again, it might be something he got excused. It might be something that this is not going to be a part of his 90% that he needs to attend in order to get a bonus that may or may not be there. We don't know all the details. But this did kind of pop up for me, like if you're going from left guard to center, right, and you're trying to get a third contract, they just spent a ton of money on Aaron Banks, right, and you drafted Anthony Belton. It does kind of raise a few questions. So I'll start with let's start with you, Jacob. What do you think, man? You think this is a big nothing burger, or is this kind of worry you a little bit?
Well, it's definitely a little unsettling for this time of year. And like you just said, we didn't all really pay attention to the fact that we made such moves, such critical moves on the offensive line, but thinking that we'd just have Elgton there as just a gimme. And now it's starting to look like, hey, man, maybe they were doing that because they knew something we didn't. What if Elgton, here's another what if, this is a big what if game here. What if he's not happy about moving to center? What if that's not something we all just assume that he's cool with moving from, at one point we threw him into tackle, now we threw him into guard, and then we're like, hey, we'll just give you center. H.E. Soder says voluntary is the key word here, which I believe he's talking about the workouts, but still it seems odd because, again, he's the type of a leadership type role, especially if you are going to be switching to being the kind of captain of that offensive line, being the center. You'd think you'd want to get out there and have as much chemistry, as many reps as you can. Brambo says wants that center money, but I disagree because that's the opposite of what's going on here. He's probably, and I believe I highlighted – it was Chris, the casual end, said the same thing. He says you would think Jenkins would be happy, might be the highest paid center for the next 2 years. Even I think if you on the contract he's playing right now, I think other than maybe a few others that are the highest paid centers in the league right now. But all that to be said, who knows? It could be a big nothing burger, like J. Cole says. He says much to do about nothing. If he holds out of mandatory camp, then it's a different ball game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, low key, I could care less right now that Ellen didn't show up. It's like a little snippet. It's a couple days, and then you're off, and then you're back on. Then you're off for the month. So, mandatory would be the key one that I'd be worried about him missing. And yeah, I get the wanting to make a good impression and moving to center and everything. But I'm sure he's already talked to Jay Love about it. I'm sure it's like even if he wasn't at the voluntary, he's probably already talked to half of his teammates, players, whatever it is. If he missed for a reason, good reason, bad reason, he's probably already let them know it, even though it just, he wasn't there in the pictures.
Definitely. As Prince points out, he has a $500,000 workout bonus, according to Spot Track, as you can see here on the screen, in terms of what he is, his cap hit. Let's just go off cap hit here because the remaining contract obviously becomes a little bit obsolete with guaranteed money already be kind of off the table. $17.6 million cap hit this year. Next year it jumps to 24.8, which, of course, there's only a dead cap amount of 4.8 attached next year, which means the Packers could free up $20 million in space if they just move on from him next year. So all that kind of comes into play. Now, I want to point out that when you see this offseason workout, yes, like Soder said, it's voluntary, right? which I do think it's hilarious that when Aaron Rodgers skipped voluntary stuff, he was the worst person on the face of the earth. When other people do it, it's just voluntary, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a shot at Solder. That's just kind of how a good portion of the fan base looked at Aaron Rodgers. Like if he's not allowed to miss anything, but if Job misses it, it's no big deal. It's just voluntary, right? He has with this $500,000 workout bonus, I believe Jair's was like a little over 90% participation in order to get that bonus. And that's something that was started with Ted Thompson back in the day. He would structure those bonuses because he knew guys didn't want to come back before training camp or before the mandatory mini camps. So they tried to give them an incentive to stay involved. So with that being said, is he going to skip out on that $500,000 bonus, right? And again, he may have been there and working out of camera sight. You know what I mean? That could have been the case too. And I thought Wildy done an excellent job of pointing that out as well. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of piqued my interest. Like I would expect him to be there. You know?
Right.
That's
So the bonus does affect that 500, or I'm sorry, the voluntary would affect that $500,000 bonus. It's not just for mandatories.
That's what they said about Jair. I'm assuming that's how they structure all of those bonuses.
Gotcha.
Now, there's also a chance that maybe Elton's is different. You know,
right.
I doubt it, but because I know that they put that workout bonus in to try to keep people drawn back to the facility.
But if he's going to get a reworked contract, does he need $500,000 right now? No, not if he's about to get paid. You know, not if he's about to be paid as a top 2 center. You know, in the league or whatever. He's about to make bread. He doesn't need the $500,000 right this second.
I still feel like though that him as a leader would almost feel obligated to be there.
And that's the thing, Jacob. To this point, it's felt like Elton's been a leader, right? So this is why it's a little out of character for me. Like of all the people, if you just said a month ago, hey, pick a veteran that's not going to be there, he'd probably been last on my list.
Yeah,
you know?
I wouldn't even thought about it.
Do you think it's any agent pushing him to do any of this or no?
Here's the thing, like when we're talking center money, all this stuff, when we signed Elgton Jenkins, his number was a little inflated because you guys remember there was a chance that he was going to be playing left tackle at the time. Like they were talking about him playing left tackle, right tackle, moving around. So his agent's going to go, look, bub, if we're going to be playing tackle, we're not settling for guard money. So that number was a little high, right? Well, the same type of thing, if they're asking him to now switch positions from guard to center, right? I could see the agent being like, well, can we get a little bump in pay? I mean, you're asking us to move around again type thing. I wouldn't put that past that agent for sure, you know. Lee in the chat says if he was upset, that would be the problem. What would be the problem? Moving him around. That's the thing too, right, Lee? We haven't heard anything from his camp. All we heard, if I remember correctly, it was Goody that stated he was going to be moving to center. I'm trying to think. I had it in here. The Packers confirmed earlier this offseason that Jenkins, who was primarily played left guard during his NFL career, will move to center for the 2025 season. This decision, reported by ESPN's Rob Demovsky on April 1st, 2025, aims to bolster the team's rushing attack, particularly for running back Josh Jacobs. Jenkins, who played center during his college career at Mississippi State, is seen as versatile lineman, capable of playing all 5 offensive line positions. Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst noted, quote, "We had plenty of conversations with Elton leading up to it, and obviously he played center in college. He's a luxury." So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that Goody's mentioned it and Rob Demovsky's reported on it, whether that came from the team side or Elton's side. I believe it's not going to be something that just kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
That next paragraph kind of dives into it, and I think this could be a little more of a indication as to why he might be a little upset.
Yeah, the move to center could enhance the Packers' offensive cohesion, given Jenkins' experience and athleticism. However, it also comes with financial implications. Centers are typically paid less than guards or tackles, and Jenkins' current contract with an average annual value of $17 million would rank him 4th among NFL centers. This positional shift could complicate future contract negotiations, potentially costing Jenkins earning potential in his next deal. Mike Wall talked about this last year when we were talking about potentially moving Elgton Jenkins to center. He said Mike Wall was adamant about, why would Elgton Jenkins take less money? That's crazy. Right. Why would you do that? You know, and when you go to center, you take less money. So just something, like I said, to kind of keep our eye on. For sure. It says contract situation, seeking security. Jenkins is under contract with the Packers through 2026 with a cap hit of 17.6 and 25 and a substantial increase to $24.8 million in 26 at age 30 in 26. Jenkins will be approaching the latter stages of his prime, making his next contract critical for long-term financial security. His current deal signed in December of 22 was a 4-year, $68 million extension, reflecting his value as one of the NFL's premier interior linemen. However, the rising salary cap and recent contracts for offensive linemen, such as Joe Thuney's trade to the Chicago Bears, which include a lucrative deal, may have Jenkins eyeing a restructure or extension to align his compensation with market. Wildy's comments on Wildy and Tausch suggest that Jenkins' absence could be a strategic move to signal his desire for a new contract. Quote, if we follow the breadcrumbs, are we finding something going on with Elgton Jenkins and the Packers this offseason? Wildy asked, hinting at potential tension. While there is no concrete evidence that Jenkins is holding out or formally requesting a new deal, his absence from voluntary workouts aligns with a common tactic used by players seeking to renegotiate. The Packers face cap challenges in 26, with Jenkins' $24.8 million cap hit representing a significant portion of their projected salary cap. A restructured deal could lower his cap hit in 26 while providing Jenkins with guaranteed money up front. We talk about that all the time, cash over cap. When you look at the structure of his contract in 2026, $18.5 million is base salary with a signing bonus that's already been paid out of $4.8 million, a roster bonus of only $1 million. So what you could do is convert a good chunk of that base salary to signing bonus, write him a check that day, and lower that base salary, and kind of maybe you could shave $3 to $5 million off of it and give him more guaranteed money. That might make sense for both parties, to be honest with you. So I'm personally not panicking at this point, but I haven't heard anyone else talk about it other than Wildy today. So I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and get out in front of it just in case this is a thing. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think about Coach Lynn saying maybe he's upset about the bank signing? Goes on a little bit later to say, I'd be upset if they sign someone that much money that plays my spots. Yep. And then just assuming, hey, we're going to tuck Elgton, old tried and true Elgton. He'll just go with the program. You know what I mean? We'll kick him inside center, give him a pay cut. And I'm sure that Elgton wouldn't take too kindly to that.
I will say this, Coach, the only thing that makes me feel better about that situation and not concerned with what you're talking about there is the Goody comment, right? Goody noted we had plenty of conversations with Elgton leading up to it. So it's not like he's blindsided by it, right? But still, that doesn't change the fact that he might want a different contract for sure. So, given like Chris says here, exactly Mike Berry. So Mike Berry made a comment. Seasons are changing. Centers do have longevity generally. Chris Casualin says exactly Mike Berry. Google Goot's third contract history and a picture of Satan top results. He does not play with those third contracts unless it's a kind of a generational talent. Tay got offered one. He turned it down after they lowballed him. He was even really, really hesitant to give Tay that offer. That's what pissed Devontae Adams off, right? Aaron obviously got one. David Bakhtiari got one. I can't think of anyone else.
Kenny
Clark, Kenny got one. You're right. So Kenny, there's 4. So that's 4 since Goody's been here, right? So 4 and since 2019. So 4 in what would that be? 5 years, 6 years now. So yeah, he's definitely hesitant on that for sure. We talked about the security implications for the Packers. Jenkins' potential dissatisfaction comes at a pivotal time for the Packers, who are coming off a competitive 2024 season playoff appearance. The team made significant offensive additions in the 2025 NFL Draft, selecting wide receiver Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, as well as offensive tackle Anthony Belton, who is also rumored to be competing for the right guard position as opposed to his natural left tackle spot. We're going to talk about that in a separate segment here a little bit later when we break down the offensive line, like the 5 things to watch for with the offensive line, because they keep talking about that on Wildy and Tausch, and that caught me off guard. I expected Anthony Belton to compete for left tackle, and it sounds like they may be letting Jordan Morgan compete for left tackle and then kick Anthony Belton inside to compete at right guard.
That would make sense. I mean, you think about coming into the NFL as a whole, Anthony Belton, you want him to go out there and try to learn. I mean, not that he needs to relearn left tackle, but at the NFL speed, at least Morgan's played at NFL speed for a year, knows the offense, knows the calls if he misses a call. You'd want to also probably get the new kid closer to the center. That way we can make sure all our line calls. So we had a problem with that as well. We got to be able to protect. We got to be able to snap the ball in loud environments, and all that can play a factor.
Definitely. And as Chris the Casual Win said, terrible third contracts, all failures. They failed to sign Devontae Adams because they lowballed him first, right? The third contract for David Bakhtiari, obviously, it was injury riddled. That ended up being a complete failure. Kenny Clark, I think we would all agree, has not lived up to that pay. So, yeah, I can't disagree with that, Chris. I cannot. So, anything else you guys want to hit on there with the Elgton Jenkins talk? Anything else?
No, I think we thoroughly investigated that situation.
All right. If you guys would hit that like and share, you possums in a dumpster, says some weird dude in the chat named Jacob. I don't know who that is. So, anyway.
Good looking guy, though. Just if I had to
move
guess.
Let's move on to the next topic here. Jacob, you brung this one up earlier, and you had sent me over an article from, I think it was fantasylife.com. Some guys are going, whoa, Jacob, what are you doing on that website?
Which poll spins best? Oh, no. That's a different article.
That's a different article. You're right, sir. So the fact that you know the specific names of these polls is just hilarious. Just going to throw that out there. So Jacob thought it'd be a good idea. So you guys let us know in the chat how crappy of an idea this is, and we'll blame it on him. Now, I thought this was cool, man. As we, kind of just finished the whole draft process, you got all these undrafted free agents kind of settling into different places. I'd love to be able to cross-check some of these with our board, Emilio. I don't know if that's possible or not. We don't have to do it in rapid fire. But
it is. I think it's good to go.
All right, cool. And Jacob, we'll just kind of let you take the helm here. What I did, man, I said below are the NFC North 2025 undrafted free agent rankings according to fantasylife.com. Number 1 in the North is actually the Minnesota Vikings here. And I'm sure that's what you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, it's really, really great. To be honest, I just thought it was interesting because you'll notice
it must be a delay.
You'll notice they have the ranking there next to the player, and that's, I believe, the consensus ranking. Logan Brown, you can see there the Vikings got a big-time steal, the 97 ranked player that they got as a UDFA. You guys remember we did highlight Logan Brown, tackle prospect, I believe, out of Kansas. I don't have it in front of me. Very surprised they were able to get him at the end of the draft, especially when I didn't think they did well in the draft. I thought they needed a tackle. They ended up being able to steal an absolute gem as a UDFA at the end of the draft. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, 285 on our board. Logan Brown out of Kansas went to Senior Bowl. Packers met with him. He was 22nd ranked last year in 24, but
let me just say
numbers on consensus and PFF.
So this makes me feel good because, again, the consensus you're saying had him 97th, right?
Yeah, our PFF had him 225 and consensus big board had him at 726.
Wow. Dang. So we actually finished, 285? Is that what you said, Emilio? So we kind of nailed that one, didn't we?
Yep. With a -5 RAS. 33rd had him 167, and Dane Brugler had him 128.
So our board expected him to go undrafted.
Yep.
Kind of cool. Awesome. So nonetheless, and it's not to say our board's right, but I just think that's kind of cool. I do think Logan Brown is one of the more appealing undrafted free agents for sure, though. Is there anybody else you want to hit on the Vikings list here, Jacob? Anybody else kind of stick out to you, man?
Yeah, honestly, it's Tommy Hill. I know Tim was pretty high on him. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that played that kind of slot, sometimes a little bit even safety hybrid. He ranked pretty well on a lot of people's boards out of Nebraska, I believe. Where'd you have him at, Emilio?
228 on our board. Crushed in 23 with a 29 overall. PFF big board had him 165. Consensus had him 196.
Okay.
Gotcha. So we had him like 7th round grade, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, that's a great pick for the Vikings because they needed a lot of help in the secondary, and they didn't address it, I didn't think, as well in the draft. And for them to, again, just luck into having Tommy Hill follow them as a UDFA, that's pretty lucky. Tyler Batty was another one. I thought Emilio, I thought you maybe liked him. I thought was he the BYU guy?
Yep. BYU edge, East-West Shrine Bowl, had him at 245. Crushed it in PFF. Throughout the years, pretty much 177 on their big board, 195 consensus.
Yep.
Okay. And once again, that's a position of need that they had, and for them just to kind of get a steal. I mean, they had a really great. I mean, even you can throw in. I like Joe Huber. That was the big offensive lineman from Wisconsin. I mean, heck, even Max Brosmer, hometown hero, quarterback for the Gophers. He gets to stay in Minnesota, and they all of a sudden now have a little bit of depth, and who knows, that could be their Brock Purdy type situation there.
Joe Huber is 207 on the board, guard, Wisconsin East-West Shrine, and Max Brosmer was 225.
Mm-hmm. And then honestly, both the tight ends, they're not the biggest names, but they graded out decently as being kind of all around types of tight ends, which they need that depth of that got their receiving tight end, obviously. But Bryson Nesbitt and both Benjamin Jurasek, I thought were really good pickups for them.
Benjamin 302 East West Shrine, and I'm sorry, who's the other one? Nesbitt.
Yeah.
Nesbitt was 328. So I mean, right around there.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That was pretty much it for the Vikings. Just names that popped off the page there. But if you move on to obviously the Packers there, I think that I want
to point out, Jacob, the Minnesota Vikings, they ranked them first, right? Like they were the best in the entire NFL in their undrafted free agent signings. So next you got the Packers, right? They were 5th. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Starting off with, I think it's Ryan's favorite UDFA, Nazir Stackhouse, from what I can tell from his pods lately. And honestly, it's pretty awesome that we were able to snag him. Again, a position of need. Maybe more of that TJ Slayton role filler than the 3-tech, but I think that he's talented enough to play quite a few different positions and techniques on that defensive line. A guy out of Georgia again. Hey, look at him. Pack Daddy's in the chat there. It's kind of interesting that we've got between Nazir and Wyatt and who's the other one? We got 3 Georgia Bulldogs right there on that defensive line. Yeah, Brinson. That's right.
Nazir Stackhouse was 213 on our board. Georgia East West Shrine Bowl Packers met with him. PFF Big Board had him 255, consensus 144.
So timeout. Nazir Stackhouse was 188 on the consensus here, right? On whoever. I
think it's just ESPN consensus, if I'm not
perfect.
mistaken.
So they had him ranked 188, basically saying, what would that have been, a 5th or a 6th rounder, right?
Yes.
Around that range.
6.
And we had an undrafted grade on him on our board, right?
No, we had him at 213.
213, so he'd have been a 7th round grade, right? Good deal. So that's good value there, man. Undrafted, according to our board and according to theirs too. So good stuff. All right, Jamin Dumas Johnson. Where do we have him? I know he's a Kentucky boy, but I think I was a little lower on him, although we did go ahead and bump him up to a 9 RAS. My man finished with an 8.99 there.
Yeah, 398.
Yeah, he was lower for sure. And that's a guy, Jacob, I think he transferred from Georgia, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah. And I wasn't necessarily too excited with him just based on those PFF grades. And that's a block that I got to get over because I definitely put, I think, way too much stock into the PFF grades. But when you look at, like you said, the type of player he was, I think he was pretty highly recruited. Obviously, he goes to Georgia. No bad players go to Georgia. They look at that RIS score. It's an 8.99. Not the biggest guy in the world at just over 6 foot, 236. But there was definitely some highlights when you watch his game, some flashes. So it would be interesting. I'd definitely like to get him in the mix with guys like Hopper, Isaiah, the guy that we just brought over from the Giants. I can't remember his name, Simmons or whatever.
Yep,
so
Isaiah.
I think all you're doing with him is you're just completely making that floor an absolute, raising that floor quite a bit.
Yeah. Where do we have Tyler Cooper at, Emilio?
253 on our board. PFF Big Board had him 131. Consensus had him 229.
Got it.
Yeah. I really like that pick. I think I was higher on Cooper than some of the interior linemen that went a lot. Like I like Tyler Cooper better than the Donovan Jackson that the Vikes took with like their first overall pick. He was a Minnesota guy as well, so I thought the Vikings would bring him in for sure. Thought he graded out pretty well all around. Big Ten competition. I like his size, 6'5", 302. He's got the 8.46 RAS, and he's a Wisconsin native. So it's just nice to get him, and I believe him and JJ Lippe were both Wisconsin natives, if I remember correctly. So that's nice to get to give him back or get him. He could really be some do you think – I don't see any way of him really sneaking on the 53, but definitely making that practice squad and next year having a good shot at it.
Yeah, I think it's possible. And I want to mention this. Julian Fleming's on this list. I did get confirmation. We actually put a quick article together for everybody over on our Patreon group. If you guys want to join the Patreon group, scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. So basically, here's what happened with Julian Fleming. We were asking last night, like, hey, what the heck's going on? So evidently he failed a physical, okay? It says the Green Bay Packers opted not to sign undrafted free agent wide receiver Julian Fleming after he failed a physical per Mark Malkowski, I think is how you say it, of the news some kind of website, the news item, I think it was. Fleming, a former Ohio State and Penn State standout, was expected to join the 2025 rookie class, but missed the team's rookie minicamp, raising health concerns. Pennsylvania native Flemings was the number one recruit in 2020 from Southern Columbia, where he recorded 5,514 receiving yards and 77 touchdowns in high school. At Ohio State, his best season was 22, 34 catches, 533 yards, 6 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. Ex-post suggests hip and back injuries led to the Packers' decision. The team, which drafted receivers Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, released Tutu Griffin. Is it Tutu or Tulu? It's Tulu, right?
Tulu.
All right. Tulu Griffin to adjust their roster. Fleming's future is uncertain, but his pedigree could attract other NFL teams if he resolves the health issue. So just wanted to point that out, that Julian Fleming, the reason he all of a sudden disappeared after we got reports that he was being signed, Spot Track actually shows him with a 3-year contract and a 4th-year rights to the Packers. Evidently, it was back problems. So you can pretty much scratch him off the list there. I highly, highly doubt he'll resurface as a Packers, camp invite. So, anything else on the Green Bay Packers you want to hear, Jake, before we move on to these nasty Chicago Bears?
Did you have anything on where Luke Gunderson ranked, or did you have a ranking on him at all? Just that
it doesn't sound familiar. Do we have him?
The name sounds familiar, but I think he was just very low. Usually,
not on the board.
Okay, it's interesting to take a look at him though. That 6 foot, almost 6'2", 240 at 9.29 RAS. I like those measurements. And then just Amar Johnson, I'm a little bit excited to see what he could do, running back out of South Dakota there.
Oh yeah, Amar, I did like Amar. He is 259 on our board. Packers met with him, running back South Dakota. No consensus, no PFF big board.
What about his PFF grade, Emilio? He graded out pretty good.
154 and 22, 187 and 23, 51 and 24. Hit a -3 RAS.
So he was in the 80s, Jacob. He graded out in the 80s last year. And I know
8 RAS.
His alma mater buddy there from South Dakota State, I believe, right, Tucker Kraft, he got really excited when they signed Amar Johnson. So I really like the idea of Amar Johnson being on the practice squad. I think that's very exciting.
I don't know about you guys, but when was interesting looking at these 4 teams. I thought obviously the Vikings did really well. I thought the Packers did really well. And then you look at who the Bears and the Lions picked up here, and I don't recognize a name, I'll be honest. And I thought that I would for sure. But these are certain can you scroll down there for the Bears?
Yeah.
Honestly, other than I don't have any of these guys that I have. Major Burns is my that's my name on Sundays after I've worked a few too many days in a row. Who? It's just Emilio, do you recognize any of these names?
Major Burns. No, we have a Major Williams on the board. Carson Newman, safety.
Major Burns sounds like a character off of In Living
That could be him.
93, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Power. Let's see where we had Power.
But even if you look at like their rankings here, like ESPN, the top rated guy they had was a 324, followed by Tysheem Johnson at almost 500, and then the other guys, ESPN doesn't even have a ranking on them.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they really went into that UDFA. They really did.
Well, seriously, bottom. That's Jacob. That's where you're shopping too, though. With clearance rack, all the yellow stickers.
Yo, this is the garbage behind the Marshalls. Okay, this is
the dumpster behind Marshalls where you get stuff for $3.99. Yeah. The Power Echoes, we had them 361 on our board, and then Tysheem we had at 443.
Okay. Yeah, these all seem like reaches to me, Jacob. I'm with you, man. And that's not just because it's the Chicago Bears. These seem like horrible signings. Mm-hmm. Minnesota's look good. Like you can legit say,
you understand what was going on. Same with the Packers. Can you scroll down to see the Lions here too? It's the same type situation. So I know Jackson Meeks, but they've got him as wide receiver 50, ranked 388th is according to ESPN. The next one is Gavin Holmes, cornerback. That's the 62nd ranked quarterback, 450th, and then Caden Pricecorn. You guys know Caden Pricecorn, the tight end, ranked 465th. And after that, I don't recognize any of those names whatsoever. They're not ranked by ESPN anymore. So
where do we have Jackson Meeks, Emilio? I'm trying to remember if we had him on the board. Jackson Meeks. This will be the last one I'll bother you with here, man.
No, you're good. I just was typing wrong. Meeks. We had him 292 out of Syracuse. His 24 grade was 44th. PFF Big Board had him 265.
Got it. All right. So again, there you go. That is your UDFAs from the NFC North. What are you coming away with, Jacob? Do you agree with the rankings here that Minnesota kind of finished first in the North and the Packers are second in the North, fifth overall?
I do. I just think it's an interesting thing to look at because everybody. I feel like you focus when you look at what a GM does and maybe how you would grade a GM in the offseason. You're going to first look at the draft, or maybe you look at the free agent signings. Either one of those two, I'll say hand in hand. But very rarely do you look at the UDFAs and the ability to even then shark guys off of the 53 or the original, some of the first cut downs and that sort of thing. I think that Goody and specifically the Packers organization has done so well, especially when you look at as of late guys like, Brenton Cox Jr., just saying. And we've actually brought talent from those UDFAs and gotten to see them get on the field and show production, which is pretty unique.
Pack Daddy got the joke while ago. I thought the same thing. I could see Damon Wayans playing who was it again? What was the name? Major Burns. If you guys didn't grow up watching In Living Color, I don't know what you were doing.
Dude, Major Payne is such a good movie, man. I might have to watch that tonight. Major Benson Winifred Payne.
If he's still in there, he ain't happy. Such a good
put that in my repertoire.
My favorite, the 33rd.
I love how Clayton knows these movies, but he has no idea any other movies that we bring up. But he knows this.
I'll tell you, from 1990, really like 1988 to probably 1999ish, maybe 2000. I watched a lot of movies, and then I grew up. So
what's what you laughing at, pig boy? You find a piece of candy in your pocket?
No, I grew up and started flying around the world on flight simulators. Don't get your finger caught in the propeller. All right. Anything else, boys, on this topic here?
No, Bears really did blow. I do think the Vikings had a super good, free agent class. I know we were talking about that after the pod last night. Just some of the guys that they were able to bring in. They were names that we were always filtering through, during the whole process. So it's like if you get anybody inside that top 250, I feel like you're doing pretty decent. But there also might be a reason that they didn't get picked, right? So a little bit of both.
Greg Rice in the chat says, can't believe no one here knows Major Burns was on MASH. My brother loved MASH. I never watched it, but I remember many a times walking his front door at his house and hearing that theme song for MASH. I can hear it in my head right now. So he loved the show MASH. So I think you're dating yourself there a little bit, Greg, is what it is, man. You're probably about the age my brother was. So, but you're born in the mid to late 60s would be my guess there. So anything else on that topic, fellas? We good?
We're good.
All right. We're going to get started on the next topic, and we'll probably go ahead and cut to hour 2 in the middle of it because we still got a few minutes left here. But I wanted to talk O-line a little bit because the whole Elgton Jenkins thing kind of got me thinking a little bit because we were expecting him to shift to center. And then what if there is something? Look, Greg Rice nailed it. There it is, 1964. Got it. I knew it, man. All right. So offensive line talk. Jacob, how long do you get to hang around, man?
I got another 10 minutes or so.
All right, cool. You just cut out when you need to. All right. So I just put a little list together. I was thinking earlier today at work, I'm like, man, what are kind of the topics around offensive line? I was hearing Wildy, Mark Tauscher, and Brian Balaga talk about the offensive line shakeup. And I told you guys before, I was kind of expecting Anthony Belton to compete at left tackle, right, and keep Jordan Morgan starting at right guard. But they keep talking on the show as if they've heard through the grapevine that Jordan Morgan's going to be competing for left tackle and Anthony Belton's going to be competing at guard. So we'll get to that in a second. But here is the top 5 list. All right. So the Green Bay Packers offensive line is undergoing a significant transformation for the 2025 season with new faces, positional shifts, and high-stakes competitions. After ranking 5th in rushing yards and 3rd in sack percentage in 2024, the line remains a cornerstone of the team's aspirations to contend in the NFC North. Here are the top 5 storylines to watch as the Packers offensive line shapes up for 2025. Number 1, of course, is Elgton Jenkins' move to center, right? Two-time Pro Bowl guard Elgton Jenkins is sliding to center, a move confirmed by general manager Brian Gutekunst in March 2025 following the departure of Josh Myers to the New York Jets. Jenkins, who started at center for Mississippi State in 2017 and 2018, has roughly 400 NFL snaps at the position compared to over 1,700 in college. Gutekunst is optimistic, stating, quote, "We feel he's got a chance to be an all-pro center. The shift aims to leverage Jenkins' athleticism and leadership to enhance the run game for Josh Jacobs, who rushed for 1,307 yards in 2024. However, Jenkins' limited recent experience at center raises questions about his adjustment to pre-snap communication with Jordan Love and handling agile defensive tackles. His success could elevate the line, but any struggles may prompt the Packers to seek alternatives by 2026, especially with his $18 million base salary looming. Of course, we talked about him jumping to a cap hit of $24.8 million in 26. When we get your all's take, how comfortable would we be with Elgton Jenkins at center, or is there someone else on the roster that you would rather start over Jenkins at center?
I feel real comfortable as long as he wants to be there. Obviously, I think that was the nervousness that we all felt with the initial segment that we did opening up the podcast. Other than the Willie thing, we haven't heard many credible news stories that there is a problem there. But again, it just seems a little bit eerie, him not being there for the voluntary OTAs and that kind of stuff. But I'm not worried about whether or not he can play there. So as far as that aspect, I think that we have our best five on that line. And if he is the captain there as that center, I'd feel really great about it. And like you mentioned, it's a interesting battles between the left tackle and the right guard. I think we obviously know what's going to go on at right tackle, hopefully at left guard as well. But we're as we've seen in years past, we're just one injury away from completely reshuffling the deck, so to speak. But I think this year they're trying to solidify a starting five that maybe doesn't need to be moved around as much if one guy happens to, unfortunately get injured. I would personally like to think that hopefully they've got a contingency plan, a solid actual backup, and I would hope that it was Jacob Monk if I had to pick.
Andy Monday in the chat says, hopefully EJ moving to a center lengthens his career in Green Bay. That's kind of what you see, right, Emilio? I mean, I know you do that on Madden. You get a guy a little longer in the tooth, throw him over to center, right? Increase that overall.
Once you hit double-digit years, man, I think you got to just work them back inside each year. You just bring them in from tackle, bring them to guard.
So when they hit 30, you take them from tackle to guard, and when they hit 31, you take them from guard to center. When they hit 32,
sometimes you can push 32.
Long snapper.
When they take them to 32, you take them out to the pasture. Take them out like Old Yeller out behind the barn, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about that long snapper spot on Madden either, right? Because Elton's also the snapper for that too, so that's perfect. That way you get.
Can I ask you a question about that? Can I ask you a question?
Let's hear
it. When you fire up Madden, do you just immediately, when you start a franchise, you immediately cut Matt Orzick? Get him.
He's got to go. He's not a tight end. He's got to go.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
everybody does that.
I mean, because I'm thinking about cutting him just for the 53 here. I mean, we did it last year, the year before. Didn't we cut him and pick him up later on? I mean, we can get a snapper. There was a couple of them that made the big board, all right? We can go find one. So I would rather keep, maybe a skill guy if we have to. But Elton at center, there's really no backup besides Monk. Obviously, my boy Travis can do anything down there, but I really think that Elton's going to be a key cog. If we don't have that, I think we're going to have an issue that we need to address very quickly.
Hey,
Greg Rice says, come to PTA for all your Madden hacks from Excelio and Clayton. Jacob's got the ultimate Madden hack. Just put it on rookie, man. You good. You ain't got to put players around. Is that right, Jacob?
No. I will say, though, Emilio, did you by chance listen to Ryan's 53 man roster? There was a certain player that didn't quite make the cut. Do you?
No.
Yeah. What, Jacob? Did you hear how much that certain player was in Ryan's thoughts and conversation?
Thoughts?
Got a lot of screen time, in Ryan's pod earlier. So a lot of screen time.
You do? Yeah, that sounds like a big old cope, buddy. It smells like you're smoking some copium.